I want to start off by apologizing for my last story ending rather abruptly. It's been difficult to bring all this up again. I can't shake the feeling that I'm doing something wrong, but I want to stay true to my word and tell everything in as best detail as I can bring myself to. After the incident in the bathroom, I was cast out even more than before. Even my friends stopped talking to me for a while, and it wasn't any better when I was at home. My father was furious for a while and went on a rampage. My mom was able to keep him at bay most times, but when she wasn't there, he would do just about anything to, as he put it, toughen me up. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Alejandro!
Where was I? Oh, right. The next day at school was like walking into a raging storm. The word about what had happened spread like wildfire, and I was the talk of the campus. All eyes were glued to me as I walked to the entrance of the school, along with whispering gossip.
He had like a total mental breakdown.
He's like crazy or something.
What a weirdo. No one actually believes those stories.
I tightened the grip on my backpack straps, and I tried to ignore the whispers. As I was walking, I spotted Ken and Gabe. My spirit brightened a little as I met up with them.
This is gonna be so cool. We're totally gonna have the best costumes in the whole school.
I overheard Ken as I walked up to them. The two of them were hunched over a paper with poorly scribbled costume designs on it. They both looked up at me, and it was anything but a warm greeting.
Oh. Hi, Al.
There was a hint of nervousness in his words. Ken quickly folded up the piece of paper and hid it behind his back, attempting to be discreet. It was clear that they were hiding something. What's going on? I hoped that they wouldn't bring up the events of the previous day. I just wanted to talk about our plans for Halloween night. Anything to get my mind off of what was going on.
Hey, Al, so stuff that happened yesterday, like, everyone's talking about it.
Ken was avoiding making eye contact, and his ears began to turn a light shade of pink. I felt a small pang as my only friends tried to scramble for words.
Anyways, I just wanted to, I don't think it's a good idea for us to go to the Halloween night.
But you were just planning costumes. Ken's eyes widened, having been caught in his lie. He shared a glance with Gabe. Both of them had slight panic expressions on their faces. I wanted to be mad at them, and part of me was. My only friends wanted to abandon me.
That was for something else.
Ken's ears were now burning a bright red. He looked around trying to think of something to get him out of the situation. He looked ashamed, and I couldn't be mad. I thought back to the day of the incident. I remembered seeing Gabe and Ken in the crowd of kids staring at me with worried faces as I was escorted to the office. He had a similar look of worry.
Gabe, didn't you need to, return a book? So we have to go do that. See you in class?
I watched as the two of them ran off, whispering to each other. A familiar feeling of being small washed over me. My heart sank, having been abandoned by my only friends. In class, people would pass notes around and giggle at them. Finally, it was recess. I was hoping that something new would happen that would make everyone forget about the previous day, but life doesn't happen the way we want it to. The kids at school would avoid me like I had the plague. This had gone on for weeks. The sheer amount of loneliness was overwhelming. To make things worse, the social isolation from my peers made it easier for the bruising to go unnoticed. Even the staff had begun treating me differently. No longer being in the trio of mischief, I became almost invisible. I don't know when it started, but eventually, I created an imaginary friend to play with. Someone to keep me company. She went everywhere with me. For months, we played together, just the two of us, and it was nice. During recess, we stayed on the outskirts of the playground, hidden in the tall grass of the field, away from all the bullies and gossip. She was my only friend. Her hair was long and dark, and it flowed on its own as if the wind was constantly blowing on her. She wore a similar uniform to my own, plain white collar and a navy blue skirt.
What kind of game do you want to play today?
I was laying down watching the clouds move past in the sky. She floated above me, blocking my view to get me to answer her question.
We can be pirates?
She jumped down next to me, hooking her arm in the air, creating a false hooked hand and twisting her face into a sneer.
Or we can be explorers, searching for lost treasure in the dangerous jungle.
She hid behind a patch of grass, cautiously sneaking through in a circle around me, hunched over and looking in all directions for possible animals. I laughed a little, sitting up. but there was an overwhelming feeling of sadness over me. My imaginary friend moved to be seated in front of me.
Why are you so sad today?
I kept my eyes down to the grass, staring at the tiny ants walking through the blades of grass. The bruising that pattered my side stung a little as I pulled my knees to my chest. Halloween night's this weekend. LaRose felt heavy to say, moved next to me, realizing that I wasn't going to be playing anytime soon. She sulked next to me, clearly bored.
Why do you care about them still? They're just mean bullies. Plus you have me now, and I'll never leave you.
They're not bullies. They just
don't want to be your friends anymore.
That's not true! Why would you say that?
Sorry.
I turned my back to her, hurt by what she said. My eyes stung with tears. I rested my head on top of my knees, listening to the distant laughter and chatter of the other kids on the playground. There was a long pause between us. I didn't want to believe what she said, that my friends had truly given up on me. Suddenly, there was a snap of a twig. It disappeared into the grass as I shot up from my position, worried that a bully had found me.
One more in the back.
Aaron's brown curly hair covered his face as he pushed through the tall grass, entering the clearing. His hands were scouring the ground, searching for something. A large plastic bag was tied to his waist and hung low, having been weighed down by scrap pieces of trash. His hand smacked the hard part of my shoe, and he finally looked up.
Alejandro, what are you doing all the way out here?
I pushed myself back in an attempt to make room for him in the small clearing I made in the grass. As I did, the bruise that coated my ribs sent a burning sting up the left side of my body. Ah! I fell onto the floor, gripping my side. The pain was blinding. I curled up on the floor, whimpering.
Are you okay? Hold on, let me get the playground lady.
No, I'm okay.
You don't look okay.
I just... Aaron stared at me. His eyes were wide with worry. He was the first person to have actually talked to me in weeks. I don't know why he was there or what he had been doing, but I didn't want him to leave. I was worried about telling people about my injuries, but if I didn't give some explanation, Aaron would leave. I slowly sat up, being careful not to irritate my injuries further. Aaron crossed his legs curiously, leaning forward, waiting for me to explain. I nervously bit the inside of my mouth, sighing as I lifted up the bottom of my shirt, revealing the large purple and deep blues that patterned my side. Aaron relaxed, his eyes glued to the bruises.
What happened?
He asked cautiously, moving to look me in the eyes. I dropped my shirt and shifted in my spot. My dad got mad.
Your dad did that?
His voice was full of worry. I felt a panic begin to rise in me. My father had warned me about the repercussions of telling people about my injuries, that I would be taken away from my mom and sold off to strangers. You can't tell anyone. If you do, I could get into trouble. Aaron thought for a moment. His eyebrows were twisted with worry, but he looked at me with sad eyes. I looked away, starting to regret saying anything.
Does it hurt?
Not all the time, just sometimes.
Does he do this a lot?
I shrugged my shoulders slightly, not really sure how to respond to his question. My mind began to race. How could I have been so stupid? His question made the panic in me grow. He would tell someone. I would be in trouble. I didn't want to be taken away. I just wanted a friend.
Why are you sitting out here by yourself?
The sudden change in subject took me aback. Aaron's pitiful look had changed back to his usual curious and cheerier self. I was brought back to the reality of my predicament. Sighing, I replied, "To get away from my bullies." Aaron looked puzzled for a moment, contemplating what I had said. Suddenly, he burst into laughter, and I felt my cheeks go red. The last thing I needed was Aaron picking on me as well.
That's so cool. This is like your secret hideout. Like the Batcave.
I hadn't expected that as a response. Aaron was beaming, a goofy smile was plastered on his face, and I couldn't help but smile back.
Hey, do you think that I can come here too?
Really? You want to play with me? Aaron shook his head vigorously, his smile never wavering.
You're like the coolest kid in school.
A feeling of embarrassment washed over me as I remembered the aftermath of the bathroom incident. You think so? Even after... I trailed off, the embarrassment catching the words in my throat.
Well, yeah, it's all anyone's talking about. You've got like superpowers.
I tilted my head to the side, confused by what he had said. For all the rumors I had heard spreading around campus, having superpowers was not one that I had known of.
Everyone is saying that you saw a ghost or something in the bathroom. I mean, if I saw something like that, I would freak out too. So is it true?
The image of that dark figure flashed back into my mind. I felt my body go cold, remembering the grotesque sound of gurgling blood. The memory of the cold hand that touched my shoulder caused me to shudder. Yeah, it's true.
Whoa, that's amazing! Alejandro Garcia, you are the most amazing person on the planet. Can you see other stuff too? Where else can you see things? Can you see things right now?
I giggled at Aaron's rambling. It was so nice to have company again. Just when that thought had crossed my mind, I saw my imaginary friend hidden in the blades of grass just behind Aaron. She looked upset and annoyed. She angrily motioned towards Aaron. I tilted my head to the side when suddenly she jolted her hand forward, pinching Aaron on his lower back.
Ow!
He spun around to check what had hurt him, but my imaginary friend had already retreated back into hiding within the grass.
I think something just bit me.
I sat there, confused. Why would she do that?
I'm gonna go to the office before recess is over. Let's meet back here tomorrow, okay?
Despite what had happened, he was still his cheerful self, and he ran towards the nurse's office. As soon as he was out of sight, I turned back to the grass. Why would you do that? I said angrily, crossing my arms and searching the grass for my imaginary friend. She popped up from the grass next to me, still with the same upset face as before. That wasn't nice.
You're the one not being nice. You're my friend.
Yeah, and Aaron can be my friend too. My imaginary friend looked shocked. She floated down to the ground and covered her face, her shoulders bouncing up and down with the sound of her sniffling. I felt bad. I didn't mean to make her cry. The clouds above us began to turn a dark gray color as thunder shot through the air. Come on, I'm sorry. But it was too late. Large drops of rain began falling from the sky as my imaginary friend cried out.
You don't want to be friends anymore?
I covered my head with my arms in an attempt to block the rain. Commotion broke out on the playground as kids rushed to take cover. That's not true! I want to be your friend! The rain began to soak into the dirt, causing a puddle of mud to form. I stood up to avoid getting mud on my clothes. It didn't help my shoes, as they were quickly coated with sticky dirt. The playground attendant blew her whistle, signaling for everyone to come inside. I turned to the noise and looked back at my friend, who was still crying loudly. I have to go. I ran off towards the gates of the playground. I turned back once more to the clearing in the tall grass, but instead of our usual spot, I saw a tall tree raging with flames. Rosie?